Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning, kings and queens of the land. Good morning. Good morning to the liberated zone of Burkina Faso under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traore. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to Mali. Good morning to the liberated zone of Mali under the leadership of President Asim Goita. Good morning. Good morning to Niger, liberated zone of Niger under the leadership of President Tian. Good morning. Good morning to the liberated zone of South Africa. Good morning, KZN. Good morning, under the leadership of the MK Party. Good morning. My name is Mgonim Content. This is the Royal Opinion. Thank you for joining. Today we are talking about. Just when I came in, I just found this message. Let me just read. Ketam Kize. Thank you, Ketam Kize, for joining. Says Mara, why you guys hate Bab Zuma so much? And you media, you are disgusting, serious. All the negativity about Zuma. Why? Even before I start talking, I'm not so sure if or did you saw my. Even before I start talking, before you even know what is my opinion, you are already saying we hate President Zuma. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, was joining. Today we're talking about the BRICS summit, which is happening currently. Currently happening is the BRICS summit in Kazan. Uh, I want to talk a little bit about the vision of President Zuma about the BRICS. When President Zuma came in as president of South Africa in 2009, what he did was to look to the East, the wise men of the East. That's where President Zuma focused his energy. He looked at the wise men of the East. He went to Russia, he went to China, he went to Brazil, and he went to Russia as well. These are the countries which President Zuma in 2009 visited on a strategic visit. Um, President Zuma, when he was still in the ANC, when the ANC was still training him to become the intelligence leader of the Umkhonto Wesizwe military wing organization of the ANC, President Zuma was trained under Vladimir Putin, under Russia, by the Soviet Union. South Africa or the ANC or black people, when they were fighting against the white system or when they were fighting against apartheid, in the 70s, the ANC went to ask for funding from the Americans. The Americans said they wouldn't assist because they are in a good relationship with the apartheid government. The ANC went to Europe for assistance, and the ANC could not find assistance in Europe because the British and the Europeans said they were benefiting from the apartheid South Africa. So they wouldn't uh, associate with the ANC, which was fighting against the apartheid South Africa. And then the ANC went to the East, in particular uh, Russia, the Soviet Union, where it found assistance. The ANC found assistance in Russia in terms of support for training of intelligence personnel in the MK military wing, on the MK or Umkhonto weSizwe army, because Umkhonto weSizwe was an army. So Russia gave them guns. The Soviet Union by then gave the ANC guns to fight the apartheid government, because Umkhonto weSizwe party was an armed force which wanted to take the country using the barrel of a gun, through the barrel of a gun, after realizing that there was no way where black people could take over the country without using guns. So the West did not support South Africa during apartheid, but the Russians or the Soviet Union in particular are the ones who sponsored the ANC with guns, and the SAC, I mean the PAC as well with guns. All the organizations which were anti-apartheid, they were sponsored with military infrastructure and also training and intelligence between the Soviet Union. So during that time, President Zuma met with President Putin before they became president, because that during the time when South Africa was still fighting for freedom, right? President Putin was also getting trained in the Russian intelligence at the same time when President Zuma was being trained as an intelligence officer of the ANC after going underground. So what happened in 1994? In 1990, the Soviet Union collapsed. The Soviet Union uh, collapsed because of the uh, uh, victory of the capitalist society, the capitalism and the imperialist. America has won the wars in 1990. The Soviet Union had collapsed while the ANC was supposed to take government by that time. Uh, the Soviet Union, which assisted the ANC to fight against the apartheid, had collapsed, and power has shifted. The power dynamics, world international power dynamics, has shifted towards capitalism. So everybody was on capitalism. You were not gonna succeed on any other system because the Americans were very harsh, aggressively implementing the dollarization of the world, aggressively using military powers, using aggression, using invasion to force the dollar into the countries, um, into countries, uh, almost all the countries in the world. Uh, about 88% of the transaction across international transaction happens in dollar. Why is it important that all the transactions happen in dollars? It's very, very important because whenever countries have to transact, let's say now I want to buy something from China or I want to buy something from India, uh, I must first buy the dollar because I cannot do an international transaction without using the dollar. So I must first buy the dollar, which gives which means I must first pay America for me to make a transaction with China or India. That's how it has been for the past 100 years, and that's how they have been sustaining the strength of the dollar, and that's how they've been using weaponized the dollar to become a weapon of war, cold war for countries who are non-compliant with the U.S. requirements or the U.S. imperial uh, system implementation. At the moment, US have got maybe about 7 countries which they have frozen their assets because countries were forced to have reserves in dollars. Russia had about more than $300 billion of financial assets in dollars in the US, which were frozen, not actually frozen, which were stolen by the Americans when Russia went to war in Ukraine. So the Americans stole 300 billion, more than 300 billion that belongs to Russia. This has caused a lot of uproar because a lot of countries or a lot of people realize that actually having assets in the investing in the dollar, it's very, very risky and very dangerous because if you somehow differ with their foreign policy, they use the dollar to force you in line. So the Russians, after uh, America has stolen 300 billion worth of financial assets of Russia, Russia started to think of an alternative uh, payment system, payment way. Iran is one of the countries. Okay, BRICS has got 5 members. If I have to talk about that, BRICS have got uh, the founding members of BRICS are actually 5 members, five countries, 5 member countries founded BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So BRICS have got 5 founding members, but they've recently added 5 more members. The 5 more members which they added to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia which is an oil-rich country, Iran, which is an oil-rich country, United Arab Emirates, which is an oil-rich country as well. All of these countries, okay, all of these three countries joined BRICS, applied to become members of BRICS after uh, most of them having frozen assets in the US financial system. So they had to come up with an alternative payment system. Iran have come up with an alternative payment system after they were sanctioned by the US. US uses the dollar to put people who don't agree with them in line. So they have sanctioned Iran, meaning they have frozen the financial assets of Iran that were in America. So Iran was not able to do transaction with other countries because the US controlled the payment system, or the dollar controlled the payment system, which for international transactions. All international transactions were controlled by the SWIFT payment system. BRICS have now come up with a new payment system which will collapse the dollar. The 24th of October 2024 is the day in which the dollar collapsed. Let me share some video here. Let me share some information. This guy has made some research. Paul Krugman.
Pundits who claim that de-dollarization is a myth. This is exemplified by the New York Times columnist Paul Krugman, who's a centrist economist who won the Nobel Prize. And in 2023, he published an article titled De-Dollarization Debunked. Krugman cited a report by the U.S. Federal Reserve that claimed that it's unlikely that the dollar's status as the global reserve currency will decline. And then Krugman wrote, "Why would anyone think otherwise?" Now, what's funny is at the same time he admitted that the dollar's share of the foreign exchange reserves of central banks around the world has fallen in the past 2 decades from 71% to 58% in 2022. And in the past 2 years, it has continued to fall even further. But despite that, Krugman concluded his article stating, quote, "The hype about de-dollarization is much ado about almost nothing," end quote. And we've seen this same narrative constantly echoed in other media outlets, especially the financial press. Business Insider published an article in 2023 titled, "Dollar Dominance Isn't Going Anywhere. Here are 5 myths about de-dollarization." At the same time, we've also seen media outlets in the West claim that Russia and China's BRICS economic alliance will fail at countering the West. Foreign Policy magazine insisted, "Don't bet against the dollar." It argued that there is no real global alternative to the US dollar. Reuters actually told BRICS that instead of expanding, it should disband, which, I mean, why would they listen to Reuters' advice? And then the French state media outlet France 24 said that BRICS nations have failed to rebuild the global financial order, declaring that the new development bank has been a complete failure, not acknowledging that BRICS is still in the early stages of transforming the global financial order. This narrative being spread by Western media outlets is a great example of what you could call cope. They are coping with the fact and trying to cover up the fact that the US-dominated financial system is changing. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be something that happens immediately in the short term, but in the medium to the long term, it is absolutely happening. And we can already see the beginning of these very profound changes happening all across the world. And today I want to look at a very rare example of an article published in the Western media that actually acknowledges what is happening. And this is written by an economist who is telling other Western economists and governments to wake up to the reality and stop blinding yourself with your arrogance and your ignorance. I'm going to be looking at an article that was published in the Financial Times, which is the dominant financial media outlet. This is the newspaper of the global capitalist class. CEOs, financial traders all around the world, they read this newspaper. And this is a very interesting article that was published by the economist Mohammed El-Arian, who is an American economist of Egyptian descent. He's very mainstream. He was previously a deputy director of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. He was also an advisor to U.S. President Barack Obama and the U.S. Treasury. In fact, Obama appointed El-Arian as the chair of the U.S. government's Global Development Council. Mohammed El-Arian begins this article noting that something strange has happened to the price of gold over the past year. It seems that the gold price has decoupled from its traditional historical influencers, such as interest rates, inflation, and the dollar. So typically, when there are high rates of inflation, the gold price.
So what does this mean? It means that the BRICS countries, the BRICS countries will be able to make transactions among themselves without paying America a cent. They say this payment system will allow the BRICS countries to do their transaction at a much cheaper rate and at a profitable for business, at a profitable rate for business by this payment system. Obviously, by eliminating the middleman, which is the dollar, eliminating the middleman, which is the Americans, uh, obviously there's a saving because when countries are transacting, they have to first buy the dollar, and after buying the dollar, then you can buy the currency in which you want to transact, and the currency in which you, let's say you want to buy things in South Africa and you are from outside, you have to buy the dollar and come to South Africa to use the dollar to buy the rand. And when the company in South Africa wants to buy the dollar, wants to do the transaction as well, they have to change the dollar first to South African rands. You change the currency. Let's say you are in Russia. You are using rubles. You change the rubles to the dollar. You transact. I have to change the dollar to rand after you transacted. So America takes two times from every transaction that happens across the world, because the transactions that happens in dollars must pay America some amount. So this has maintained America's dominance in the world. And the dollar is not based on any asset. The dollar is just a paper, just like a toilet paper. The dollar is just a paper which gets printed by those who are in power in America to go around the world buying assets. They print papers, go around the world, buy land, and build businesses, foreign businesses in those lands, because they are using fake money, and they are using, they are getting real energy from the people who are working. So they've been keeping the strength of a dollar to that level because of this exploitative system. So anytime they want to, uh, when you don't agree with their foreign policy, when they come to your country, like when what Zimbabwe did to take over their land and share it among black people, they put Zimbabwe in sanctions, which is a cold war, which is a distraction of the country, uh, not allowing the country to transact with other countries because they have got the power. When they put a certain country in sanctions, they also don't allow other countries who are in alliance with them or who are having transactions with America to have transactions with that particular country. So they have been destroying nations. The dollar has been destroying nations. The BRICS countries to have come up with the new payment system which will remove the dollar from dominance, because now every country will be able to transact uh, using their own currency. It's a multi currency system. They are going to use the BRICS pay system use a multi currency system, which does not require any dominance of any currency, and it's decentralized, meaning it's not controlled by a particular country or does not benefit only a particular country. It's based on mutual respect. It benefits all the member countries who are involved. Share your opinion, click the like button and subscribe. My name is Mgonim Konto. This is the Royal Opinion. Today we're talking about the de-dollarization project, which countries in the East have embarked on to reduce the dominance of the dollar in the financial system. So the transactions that they will be doing among themselves, it will be without the involvement of America or without the involvement of the dollar. This is a very, very important uh, development in international economy or in international finance, because this will allow developing countries to save billions of dollars, which they were supposed to give to America uh, through the exchange rate. The population of China, the population of China is about 1.2 billion people there, and about 1.4 billion people in India, about 300 million in 300 to 400 million in Brazil, about 62 million in South Africa, the population. So basically, the population of the BRIC countries forms around about 40% of the world population. The economy is the people. Everything happens because of the people. So if the BRICS, the 5 countries, controls immediately, just 5 countries control almost okay, 40% of the world's economy. Immediately, 40% of the world's income to America has been reduced immediately. Let's click the like button and subscribe. This is the Royal Opinion. Today we're talking about that dominance of the American financial system, which has been broken by the BRICS countries. Uh, Speaking at this BRICS summit as well, President Ramaphosa was also
and that there should also be recognition for the self-determination of the Palestinians. Your Excellency President Vladimir Putin, Your Excellencies, fellow BRICS leaders, honorable ministers, excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen, allow me to start by thanking President Putin and the people of Russia for hosting this, the 16th BRICS summit in this beautiful city of Kazan. It is fitting that we hold the BRICS summit in a city that is so rich in heritage and culture as we embrace this new chapter in BRICS as an expanded family of countries equally rich in history, culture, and capability. Our story as the BRICS countries is a story of solidarity, of mutual respect and mutual benefit. BRICS is an inclusive formation that has the ability to change the trajectory of the global South. To do this, we must realize the full potential of our economic partnership to ensure sustainable development for all and not just for some. We must undertake bold steps towards a mutual, shared, and equitable prosperity for all. Like most of the world, South Africa desires the smooth operation of supply chains, trade, tourism, and financial flows free from external influence in a multipolar world. Working together, the BRICS family has an important role in addressing the key challenges of the Global South in partnership with
when it talks about the multipolar world, the multipolar, that's the concept of the Eastern countries. Uh, the multipolar world is a world where everybody exists and is allowed to practice whatever is their belief or their culture. They are allowed to govern the way they want to govern. They are allowed to pray the way they want to pray. That's a multipolar world. So there's the other world, the unipolar world, which the Americans are fighting for. The unipolar world is one religion, one world religion, uh, one world government, uh, and one control system. Everybody is controlled by one person. That's the difference between the unipolar world and the multipolar world. The multipolar world allows everybody to exist the way they want. The unipolar world uh, does not allow people to exist the way they want. It imposes itself, the system, it imposes itself into people's culture, into people's life. That's the hegemony that the Americans have been applying to Africans and all the colonial world, all the colonized world. So the multipolar concept is a very important concept, which allows countries to lead themselves and transact with mutual respect with other countries. Let's continue sharing.
Like-minded emerging market economies. We look forward to the report that will be given by our finance ministers and central bank governors on the use of local currencies in international trade and financial transactions between BRICS members and their trading partners. A few days ago, the BRICS business entities gathered in Moscow under the stewardship of the BRICS Business Council to explore tangible trade opportunities between our countries. For South Africa, these endeavors, which are focused on practical results, are critical in addressing our country's central national priority of inclusive economic growth. For us, inclusive growth means, amongst other things, prioritizing women-led businesses. In this regard, we acknowledge the diligent work of the BRICS Women's Business Alliance to unlock economic value between the BRICS countries for the development, growth, and sustainability of women-owned businesses. As we seek sustainable development solutions, we must acknowledge the challenges posed by climate change. We must acknowledge the devastating impact on lives and livelihoods of our current climate trajectory. As South Africa, we remain conformed. We must enhance beneficiation of mineral endowments of BRICS countries closest to the source where these minerals are produced. This is important for development and for the advancement of our decarbonization goals. The unique role that is played by the new development bank as a multinational development bank is pivotal to the development aspirations of our group and emerging markets and developing economies at large. We commend the work that is being done and progress that is being achieved by the new development bank under the excellent leadership of our dearest sister, Dilma Rousseff. It is one of the finest examples of the value of the BRICS group because it is supporting the growth and development of countries of the global south. And this is a great strength. And as we enhance the development of these countries, we also need to focus on peace and security in the world. The conflicts that continue to rage in the world are of great concern to us. The continuing conflict in Gaza, the Middle East, resulting in the death of so many Palestinians, is a matter of great concern.
President Zuma playing a big role in the formalization of the BRIC economic alliance. President Zuma, when he took over as president in 2009, his uh, first state visit, or his earlier state visit in 2009. He went to Russia, he went to Brazil, he went to China to speak to the countries, to actually to influence them, because he wanted to move away from the dollar. He wanted to move away from the unfair transactions which the Americans are imposing across the world. So President Zuma went to the east, the wise men of the east, to persuade them, literally persuade them to invite South Africa into BRICS. And after persuading them to invite South Africa into BRICS, uh, literally influencing them to consider making BRICS an economic alliance, because it was just a forum where four countries. It was actually a concept developed by an economist in the American stock exchange. He was writing a report at Goldman Sachs, and he said four countries which were going to dominate the world in 2063. He said uh, Brazil, Russia, uh, India, and China were the developing countries which were going to dominate the world's economy in 2063. It would have overtaken the US by a huge margin. So President Zuma, getting hold of that information and in desperate need to move away from the American capitalization, from the dollar. He went to these countries. He went to China to convince Xi Jinping for him to allow South Africa into BRICS. He went to Russia to talk to Putin to allow South Africa into BRICS, and to implement BRICS as an economic alliance. His dream has been realized. His vision to uh, make BRICS into an economic alliance, though he is no more president of South Africa. He was quickly removed when he wanted to implement the nuclear deal, because South Africa was going to be energy independent. And the West does not want South Africa to be energy independent, because that plays a big role into development of the economy, and also into independence of the economy. If you are energy independent, so nuclear was the cheapest form of energy, the most efficient form of energy, the most reliable form of electricity is nuclear. South Africa was not even going to pay a cent to build that nuclear power station. Russia was going to build, operate, and hand it over after a particular number of years. But the West mobilized inside South Africa to remove President Zuma for daring to even think of uh, uh, getting energy independence, or to even think of being independent of the US companies. So President Zuma's dreams have been achieved. Today is the death of the dollar. The 24th of October 2024, uh, the BRICS countries have adopted a new payment system which will allow them to transact without buying the dollar, immediately affecting the income of the dollar massively by, we would estimate, about 40% of the world economy. This is very important for the Americans. This will cause America to go to the Third World War, because the de-dollarization project, if it's successful, then America's economy is going to collapse. The American economy will collapse when the dollar fails. And all other nations, the colonized world, are going to rise above the American imperial system. They are going to be above in their economy. South Africa is going to be one of the richest countries in the world. This is what is coming: the collapse of the dollar and the rise of all those who were colonized and those uh, who are suffering due to slavery, which America has implemented across the world using the dollar. This current financial system has been in existence for about 100 years now. I think this current financial system was developed after the Second World War, which was cementing uh, the dominance of the American power in other economies, developing economies, and which was making sure that developing economies are being milked as much as they can by the dollar. And nobody had anything to do, because whoever rises against America was going to be sabotaged. So the problem now, they went against Russia, which is a bigger economy. They've frozen 300 billion worth of financial assets which belongs to Russia, and stole those assets to give to the American business people. Stole those assets, put them on auction to give for free to their friends. So immediately all the people, all the countries realized that it was unreliable to rely to the dollar. It was very much unsafe to rely on the dollar, because anytime it can be frozen immediately, you are on the wrong side of the American policy, foreign policy. Peter Tosh sang a prophetic song, "The Day the Dollar Die." I know the song, "The Day the Dollar Die." Today is the day the dollar die. Today is the day the dollar die. We can say today is the day that Peter Tosh has uh, prophesied about, the day the dollar die. This is the death of the dollar. Donald Trump said they will not allow the dollar to die. Like they can allow any other thing, but they will not allow the dollar to be to d- to be removed from being a dominant currency of the world. Donald Trump was very clear about that he's going to go to war with anyone who says the dollar should not be used uh, during transactions. Now, 40% of the world population is now transacting without the dollar. China have reduced their financial assets, their financial reserves in dollars uh, by about 50% from just 5 years ago. They have been buying gold because now the BRICS countries want to move back to the financial system which was backed by gold, money which was backed by gold. Zimbabwe has already moved to that financial system. They have stabilized their economy. They have introduced the ZIG. The ZIG is a Zimbabwean currency which is based on gold. Meaning, if you have the note, if you have the Zimbabwean note, you have the equivalent amount of gold in their reserves. If you want to buy the gold, you can get the gold from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. So many countries in the East, many countries which were colonized by the British, are moving towards that kind of payment system. Click the like button and subscribe. This is the royal opinion, the most forensic political analysis in the internet. Shongwe saying siyabonga nyamalala. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining the live session. Thank you very much. Please remember to click the like button and subscribe. This would be the end of our live stream. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Victor for joining and participating in the live stream. Thank you very much, Keta. Keys there. Keta, thank you very much, Queen Precious Malachi, and thank you, everybody who is joining. You can tell us where you're joining from. You can click the like button and subscribe if you're just joining. We were talking about almost closing. Well, actually closing. We were talking about uh, the most powerful decision that has been made by the BRICS countries in Russia now in this summit, where they've launched a new payment system, which is a card payment system, which is going to replace Visa in South Africa, or MasterCard, which will work the same as Visa and MasterCard or which will actually replace Visa and MasterCard. It's a new card system. Remember, there's also BRICS TV, there's BRICS Bank. So BRICS is serious about their economic alliance, and they're serious about um, forging a working relationship and between the countries and cultures, infusing cultures within the BRICS countries. That's why they've got the BRICS TV. Very important development. This is the day in which the dollar died. Thank you very much.